Longtime listeners to the Hugh Hewitt Show and now watchers on the Salem News Channel knows that music means it's my wedding anniversary, 43 years married to the fetching Mrs. Hewitt, and the 25th anniversary of the Hugh Hewitt Show on Salem Media. Seems like yesterday. Now I'm pleased to welcome one of our regular guests, Senator Jim Talent, formerly senator from Missouri, on the Reagan Board of Leadership and a defense maven. Senator, I want to go back and continue with you what I was doing with Mark Montgomery, throwing at you some of the line items in the $158 billion. Before I do that, what's your reaction to the big number, the $158 billion?
Oh, I love it, Hugh. Now, I'm a worrier, so I don't want it to be used as an excuse not to increase the top line, but there's a number of one-time needs that we can meet with this, and there's also programs we can begin to establish like Golden Dome. So I think it was great, and now let's just step up when the top line comes up later in the year.
All right, now let's go through a few of these and just get your comments on it. There's $16 billion in the bill. 16, that's a lot of money to expedite innovation to the warfighter. 1.4 billion in small UAS industrial base, 1 billion for innovative technologies, 1.8 billion for quote low cost cruise missiles. This doesn't. Oh, by the way, there's also 1.7 billion for cryptographic modernization. Do you really think we have any idea what this is?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are programs now. Mark would know more about the specifics than I would, but those are all areas of priority, including, by the way, cryptographic, because it's getting harder and harder to encrypt things, and we need new innovations. We need much lower cost interceptors and missiles because we're of the asymmetry. You know, a ship's attacked with a drone that costs $5,000, and we got to use $1 million missile to take it down, or $1 million ordnance. So all those things are important. And of course, what we have to do now, Hugh, is we have to innovate at the same time as we're also replacing legacy programs, because we've not recapitalized the armed forces for years. And so we have to spend money on innovation as well as on straight procurement.
Example of that, there is a specific no additional F-35 procurement, but there's $3.15 billion to increase the F-15EX aircraft production and $361 million to prevent the retirement of F-22. Now, those are just three random lines. What do they say to you?
Well, on F-22, Congress is constantly forbidding the retirement of force structure when we don't have anything to replace it, and we don't have anything. We don't have the new fighter now, so the Congress does not want F-22 retired. We did the same thing with cruisers for years, because what the services will want to do, is they want to save money on maintenance, and they'll cut force structure in order to do it. So they'll want to retire old vessels that require a lot of maintenance, and they're not that worried about how low the ship count is going. So that's probably that reason. Now, you mentioned F-15X. My guess is that the production line is not running as hot as it could. This is one-time money. So they're saying, okay, ramp it up to maximum production, which, by the way, lowers the cost of each copy, each aircraft that you're buying. That's what you should do with one-time money, is ramp up the production line so you get as many as possible of lines that are already hot.
All right, let's go to the most important thing, in my view, our deterrent, our nuclear deterrent. $15 billion new money, including $4.5 billion for B-21 funding, and 2.5 for GBSD Sentinel. I think that's our new missile, and 2.4 billion for an SLCMN nuclear armed cruise missile submarine. What, sufficient under the day?
Yeah, well, if we follow up with it, I would say yes. And you notice they're addressing all three legs of the triad, which shows continued congressional support for that. And that is extremely important. Each one of those legs has a purpose. One of the issues we've got, I mentioned before, recapitalization and innovation. There's also programs out there that are not fully funded. One of them is the nuclear modernization. Another is modernizing the space architecture, which is going to be extremely important for Golden Dome. So all of these dollars can be used very effectively I heard you talk to Mark about how we're going to be certain that this money is used properly, and he came back with it's accountability, and it really is. This is the first major test for the service secretaries, and I fully agree that Secretary Hegseth needs to and will tell them, look, these are the goals we want to achieve. They've contributed to those plans, of course, and I expect you to achieve them. John Lyman told me that's how he rebuilt the Navy. He established tight chains of command. He agreed on plans, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to back you up. I'm going to give you the authority. I'm going to put out fires for you. But if you can't do it, I'll get somebody who can do it." That's the way you
Let
get
me ask you
procurement done.
about Section 20009, 12 billion for Pacific deterrence. That's it.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
Well, it could be hardening. They haven't fully hardened those bases yet. It could be 360-degree missile defense for Guam, which is not in there yet. I don't know. Obviously, you in the authorization process, and I heard you talk to Mark about this. No Secretary of Defense has ever wanted the Congress to micromanage the department through these authorization bills. And by and large, they don't. About 90% of the authorization appropriation bills are programs the department has requested that they want. But there are instances where Congress attends to needs that, for one reason or another, the department will give short shrift to. Munitions is one of them. Because as Mark said, the department will use, and it's dealing with OMB, it will use munitions as a bill payer in order to preserve the programs that are its core priorities. But then Congress will plus up the munitions account. So it's been woefully short in the past. There is a role for Congress to play. And I always tell secretaries of defense, including the current one, look, they're going to play it whether you like it or not. So you might as well make them a partner, because if you alienate them, they'll go in and they will micromanage the department.
I'm
It's
going
the
to come
only
back and talk to
authorization.
Jim Talent during the break and on the other side about a constitutional question about the president's commander-in-chief authority and all this money. Stay tuned. So, Jim Talent, I was scheduled to have Speaker Gingrich on today about his brand new book, Trump Triumphs, and he got hurt, so he's going to be on next week. In it, he talks about revising procurement. I began to think about the president's commander-in-chief authority in Article 2. Do you think that a court would stop a president if he simply said, I'm taking out of this huge defense budget of $1 trillion, $10 billion for X company and $10 billion for Y company, and telling them to go and innovate and bring me back weapons that kill?
You mean money that had not been or had been authorized for other purposes or appropriated for other purposes, and he took it out and wanted to spend it for something other than Congress? Well,
Yes, like he did for the wall.
I'm a little bit reluctant to talk about con law with you, but wouldn't there be a standing issue? I mean, who'd sue?
I think there would be a standing issue. I don't know who would sue, but I wonder, you're a legislative guy. You served in the
Right,
House and the Senate,
right,
but you're a defense
right.
guy as well. And you know, the president is the commander in chief, and so Congress can appropriate. But in a war, no one's going to care about what he does. And if he just tries to get something done quickly by one of our small, nimble companies like Palantir or Anduril or something like that, I don't know who would have standing to sue, and I don't think anyone would want to. I'm just wondering if you think it's a good idea.
Well, okay. I think a lot would depend. If it was some kind of an emergency basis, um, a lot would depend on that and what the record showed regarding it. I mean, this is my guess. The courts, as you know, would be reluctant, and appropriately so, to interfere in this. Now, what I would hope would happen, and I think probably would happen, even in this highly partisan atmosphere, is that you could go to the Congress and get something done quickly if the need was clear. Remember, the defense bill is the one authorization bill that passes every year. No other agency is reauthorized. That's a bipartisan tradition. It usually has bipartisan support. And so I would hope something like this would not be necessary for the clear needs of national security. If it was, and the president was responding to an emergency type situation, my guess is the courts would try and find a way to uphold it. What do you think?
I'm going to give you the specifics of the example on the other side. Stay with me for a moment. Welcome back, America. It's the anniversary show. 43 years married to the fetching Mrs. Hewitt. 25 years on the air with Dwayne. Almost 25 years with Adam. And it must seem like 25 years to Harley. So I want to thank my team for a wonderful, and to everyone at Salem Media for supporting me for all these years on radio and television, and to our wonderful affiliates, and to my guests like Jim Talent. Jim, here's what I have in mind with my exit question. What I saw Ukraine do was smuggle drones deep into Russia and destroy strategic assets. What I saw Israel do was to smuggle, those are both closed countries. They got drones into both countries. They blew up important stuff. I'd like to ask Palantir or Anduril or somebody to please come up with a way to find out where we are vulnerable and who's doing that to us, because I'm almost certain someone is, aren't you?
Yeah, and appropriations along those lines are already authorized. They do have a lot of flexibility. You just read the open-ended appropriations, so they would be able to find money for that. That's one of the reasons Golden Dome is being tried, because remember that deals not just with missiles, but all airborne threats. It's also a pretty good reason to keep the border secure, isn't it? And you notice there's also money in that bill. This is one of my favorites for getting a number of new Coast Guard cutters. We're really reinvigorating the Coast Guard with this bill, and that is icebreakers as well. That's a pet peeve of mine. That we don't have any icebreakers, and yet we're trying to compete for the Arctic with Russia and China. So, yeah, they would be able to find the money for that. You can move money around. Again, I was never like a budget hawk. It's not like I ever worked at OMB, but generally speaking, you can reprogram money if you inform the committees and they don't object. There's an awful lot of flexibility there.
Okay, I didn't know that, and that might remove the need. I do think there's some urgent needs that have become very obvious in light of recent developments. Final question, are you an optimist that Gaza is near the end?
Yeah, I am, because the balance of power, as you know, has completely changed in the Middle East. Israel is now the hegemon of the region, capable of dominating their strategic environment as long as they have the cooperation and support of the United States, which they will for the next 3.5 years. So I think they're going to figure this out. And it's important not only for humanitarian reasons, but also because it's the primary remaining obstacle to expansion of the Abraham Accords and normalization of relationships with Israel all throughout the region. We have a real chance to create a new equilibrium, one that suppresses Islamic radicalism and prevents aggression through the region. I mean, the president and Netanyahu and the Saudis, the Gulf states, et cetera, are close to getting there. And Gaza right now is an obstacle because it's hard for the conservative Sunni states to come to that kind of an accommodation as long as that war is going on. I'm sure that's why the president is so eager to get an agreement there.
Fingers crossed. I think it's close. We will see. Jim Talent, thank you, my friend. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Harley. Thank all you listeners. The second 25 years begins tomorrow on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.